Like if it says on the storyboard that the camera needs to dolly in, would this be you?
What does it mean? What does it mean?
If it is, then you should probably watch this video. Oh, by the way, if you're new to my channel, my name is Robin. I'm an animation supervisor and one of the heads of the animation department for a media company in South Africa. So my last video was about framing and shot composition, and like this video, it goes really well with the previous video, which was about storyboarding. Because this is the stuff you need to think about when you're storyboarding, but it's also really good just to think about when you're animating. Even if you're not the storyboard artist, because you still need to think about your shots and plan them when you're animating. And it's also really good just to know all the terminology and what's going on in the storyboard if you're the person who needs to read and utilize the storyboard as an animator. So let's go through the different types of camera shots and techniques and the kinds of situations that you would use them in. I've also made a cheat sheet which is up on my Patreon page for all my patrons. So if any of my patrons are watching this, I sure hope you are if you're one of my patrons. If you are, just be aware, you should get the notification, but there is a cheat sheet for you guys on my Patreon page. So firstly, to begin at the beginning, there is the establishing shot. This shows the setting of your scene and it gives the viewer context for where the scene is occurring, where all the action is going to happen. It basically grounds them in the scene so they can know what time of day it is, what sort of surroundings are around their characters, what the ambience is. Do you pronounce it ambience or ambiance?
This is said as ambience. You do want to stress on the first syllable. Ambience.
So your establishing shot is important if you're at the beginning of your story and you need your audience to know where they are, or if you've changed scenes and your characters are now in a different location, so that your audience can have a greater context about everything that's happening around your characters and where they are. A long shot, or sometimes called a wide shot, is when the camera is far away from the character is small in frame, and we see a lot of the environment. This can also be used as an establishing shot, but when it's not used as an establishing shot, it can be used to give a sense of separation between the character and the audience, because the character is so far from you, and helps to cause a feeling of isolation when it's just the character in the long shots. A full shot shows the full body, duh. This type of shot is good for a character's entrance or exit, so you can get a good look at them and the way they move and hold themselves, you can see their clothes and just get a general feel for them in their entirety. Then you've got a medium shot. This shows your character from the waist up, and it lets us see the background and environment that the character is in, and also the gestures and major body movements of the character. So it's close enough that we can see emotions and stuff while still being able to see their surroundings too. It's often used in conversations between characters because you get a good view of the characters and their body movement and interaction in the environment. Next one is a close-up. I'm sure you all know what a close-up is. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's when you're close up to the character. Usually you don't see much of the environment and you don't see anyone else. So you focus on the character and their emotions without any other distractions. So it's good for emotional scenes. An extreme close-up is a close-up, but extreme. Like you just see a character's eyes or mouth. Like when two characters are doing a standoff, or in a horror when you see the terror in the character's eyes. It's used for building tension usually in some way and get the audience to focus on really specific things that they might not otherwise, and should be used sparingly but can be very effective. A POV shot, or a point of view shot, is like you're looking from a character's point of view. It makes you feel more immersed in the scene and gets you looking at things from the character's perspective so you can better understand their state of mind. It can also be used from the point of view of an inanimate object for a bit of pizzazz to add interest to the scene. You know, it builds drama. The next one is a two-shot. I'll give you a prize if you can guess what this one is. It has two people in the frame. They don't literally have to be side by side. You can have one in the foreground and one in the background. As long as there are two characters in the shot, it's a two-shot. These are good for letting the characters' performances show in one frame or shot and giving context with the relationships to one another. It's good for emotional or comedy shots where they play off one another and you see both of their reactions at once, or it can show you who is more important in the scene, like with one in the foreground and one in the background. And it can help with building drama or romance because it shows the tension between the characters. You also can have a three-shot or a four-shot. However many people are in the scene, that's how many a shot it is. Okay, so now that we've looked at types of shots, let's look at angles, because not everything should just be shot straight on at an eye-level angle. Utilizing angles in your shots really helps the audience with subtext, guiding them on what they should be feeling about certain characters and the atmosphere and what your focal point is. A high angle shows the subject from above, from a high angle. This has the effect of making the subject feel less powerful because we're looking down on them. It makes them seem weaker, less significant or submissive, because they're below us. A bird's eye view is a super high shot. directly from above, like from a bird's view. It can be used as an establishing shot or for dramatic effect or to show the scope of a scene. It's very effective to have this different spatial perspective and can show different characters' positions, and we can get a full view of things the characters can't, or to even show how small or insignificant the subject is in the greater scheme of the scene. A low angle shows the character from a low angle, from below, so they look dominant and powerful and more intimidating or awe-inspiring, depending on the context. A worm's eye view is an extremely low-angled shot, like you're a worm cameraman. It makes the subject seem really big and strong and powerful or intimidating, like the low-angle shot, but way more extreme. It can be used to make buildings or trees seem really tall and overwhelming and makes the viewer feel powerless or small. An over-the-shoulder shot is used when a character is looking at another character. We have the camera positioned over the shoulder of one of them, and this is best when two characters are having a conversation or a face-off. A Dutch angle or a tilt is where the camera is tilted or diagonal or off balance in some way. This is obviously meant to be used sparingly. It's cool for when you're animating an action shot or if something really whack is happening to the characters, like if they're tripping balls or something. It's usually fast-paced or something generally a bit chaotic, like you want the viewer to feel a bit disoriented or off-kilter. Now let's look at moving shots, because up till now the ones I've been talking about have been static, although they obviously can have some movement to them. A zoom, everyone knows the good old zoom, gives us the impression that we're moving further away from or closer to the object, but it's an adjustment in focal length. It's basically like a magnification of an image or scaling up and down of the image. Zooms are great for adding drama to a shot. A dolly can sometimes be mistaken for a zoom, but it's the physical movement of the camera back and forth, rather than an adjustment of the focal length, which is what a zoom is. Dollies are a nice natural way of moving towards or away from your subject, because it's like the viewer is physically walking towards or away from it, as opposed to a zoom where it doesn't feel like a natural movement. A dolly in can be used to feel more intimate with the character, and it's good for emotional scenes. Next is trucking. Trucking or tracking is also moving the actual camera along a fixed track, like dollying, but it's a sideways movement. It's useful in situations where your character is moving so the camera trucks along with them, or when you have a car driving and you're following it, or even when you want to show a shot with some scenery. Next is panning, and this is where the camera stays fixed at a point, but it swivels or turns on its axis from side to side. It's a good way to reveal something like a majestic landscape or a huge crowd or whatever. Really, it's that movement that lets you anticipate that something is coming up that you need to pay attention to. Tilt is literally the camera just tilts up and down, like the camera is nodding. Use it to look up a really high building or a mountain or whatever. It's just used a lot in revealing things. So those are the most commonly used shots and angles and camera techniques. Obviously there are tons more, but I'm sure that you can take that burden upon yourself if you really do want to find out about all the other ones. These ones will do you very well in your animation work. The key thing to remember here is that each of these shots and angles have a distinctive purpose. You don't just throw in a zoom because your scene feels a little bit boring. You need to have a specific reason for using this camera technique or movement or angle. Don't just add unnecessary weird camera angles and shots if it doesn't make sense in your story or to your pacing. These all exist to help you in A, getting eyes to your focal point, and B, communicating your story. Be purposeful and mindful about what you're doing in your storyboard and your animation. Don't just jump in all willy-nilly, because you will live to regret it, because it'll look like shit. And that's it for this video. Good luck and may the odds be ever in your favor. Thank you as always to my patrons. You guys are the cat's pajamas, and don't forget to download that cheat sheet if you are one of my patrons or if you want to become one of my patrons. I also share stuff like works in progress, little tips or advice. I ask my patrons stuff about what I should do for my YouTube channel, and I also give once monthly feedback to some of my patrons on certain tiers, so check that out if you're interested in that sort of thing. Otherwise, hit the like button if you got this far. Maybe subscribe if you feel like it. That'd be cool. Okay, thanks. Love ya. Bye.